the Jotum. Now, this is the recently released 2025 new model of it. There, beautiful, in the new plastic. The older model was made out of white metal. It is still a beautiful blooming model, to be fair. I actually do plan on getting one of those and comparing it to this newer version. Here is it beautifully painted up in a very nice job there. Okay then. Now these models are not quite what you'd be expecting if you collect something like Warhammer. As Warhammer, you'd usually get a sprue kit. Let's compare it to here. This would be your basic GW sprue. This is for, I believe, the Direwolf. But in Infinity, it's a little bit different. Let's say you're not the biggest fan of all the cutting and gluing and sanding and construction and, oh god, what if I mess this up? Or am I putting the right bits on it? Well, in Infinity, I did a bit of struggle with that. All you get is this little bag. And obviously the stand. Now then, these stands actually have a little direction marker right here. So there's two little arrows pointing right there. So you gotta make sure your model's always facing this way. With my previous one, I actually made a mistake with that and had to break it off the base. And because it's like a resin type plastic, the plastic broke and it was a bit of a pain. So make sure you're always pointing it forwards. But now then, here we go with the actual bits. I have done a little bit of cleanup on these, as in this little piece here, if it ever focuses. I ended up just sanding the edge there a little bit. Let's get some bigger pieces here. This is the torso, and it's actually incredibly detailed. Beautiful. Now then, we'll go through a couple of these bits. So the legs required pretty much no additional work, minus this one that had a little bit, if it'd focus on it right here, a little bit of an air bubble, but a bit of glue in that fixed it right up. Two legs, torso. Now these are for the power pack on it. Two shields. I have cleaned up only one of them to show you what type of cleanup would be required on these pieces. So, like I said, you don't have to build it like you would a traditional GW kit. But also, I've had a lot of issues with especially Forge World resin to where there's a lot of slippage in the molds. That's when the molds don't quite align and you get those weird lines. You see a lot of in the old Space Marine model kits, especially on the legs. I should probably grab an example of one of those later, but with these, all I had was right here. A little bit of cleanup. That little bit of cleanup right there is all you need to just sand off. And then the pieces are perfect. Arm, once again, beautifully detailed. With these pieces right here, it's just the bottoms what need cleaning up, as you can see. That's it, nothing else. There is one issue though with this kit, and it's with this gun here. Looks wonderful, looks detailed, looks a bit wonky. Just soak it in some hot water, slowly bend it back like you would with any Forge World kit. Absolutely fine. So then let's get together and building this. I'm just going to construct little bits of it just to show you, and then I'll build the rest of it off camera and bring it back, and there will be a little bit of a comparison. So with this, you could, let's say, drill holes and pin it like you would with the older white metal models, but really all you need is a little bit of super glue just in there. And you're done. That is a good 70% of the model done in just that simple step. Here's a quick size comparison as with a Contemptor Dreadnought. Roughly even in size and also roughly even in price as well. It's just a lot more detail, a lot simpler to put together, but also not as posable as the lovely Redemptor. Back now with the model fully constructed but not all glued together for ease of painting. So do please excuse, I'm not going to be moving it around a lot showing the back of it, just because I am concerned about it falling apart. Now then, this shows a better comparison between the two kits, with at least size, so you know roughly what you're getting for the price. I spent about £32, Great British pounds, on this guy, and you know what? Worth every penny. He's absolutely gorgeous. The tankiest model in the game. So if you're looking for heavy armor, looking to hold the front lines, hopefully not get hacked, the PanOceania Jotum is, in my opinion, the coolest tag in the entire game. Once again, I do plan to compare it to the older white metal model so you can see the difference. I was not exactly jazzed on the new redesign when I first saw it, because I've always wanted a Jotum. I've only just got into the game this winter since my lovely partner bought me one of the kits, and I've gone on my way to buy this one now. But yeah, you know, size-wise, it's a bit bigger than a Contemptor, I'd say, you know. There we go. But what's really special about it is just the level of detail. You know, you saw how many parts were in it, very few. And the construction time off screen literally took about 2 minutes of just quick gluing. And this is what you end up with. And absolutely... Ah, see, there we go. Well, they got together pretty well. So yeah, I'll just take the little extra bits of armor off, show you the basic tag. This is very cyberpunk sci-fi. And you know what? Once in a while, it's good to get away from the blocky 40k/horror heresy. I love the blocky 40k horror heresy. Let's not go against it. It is a beautiful aesthetic, but it's always good to try out different companies. And I do think I found something I rather enjoy painting. Let's give it some final thoughts now on the Jotum for PanOceania. I've just started Infinity, but to be fair, with the two kits I have, I'm actually incredibly impressed. As someone who's spent the past 5 years getting models pretty much exclusively which were on sprue, and the only resin experience I really have is with Forge World, I am more than shocked with the actual quality of the kits. I heard it's some sort of plastic, but when I sand it, it smells like resin, it looks like resin, they cast it like resin. I'm just going to presume it's some sort of resin. Which does in fact mean when you're sanding it, when you're working with it, you have to use protection. I don't, obviously, I'm just going to fucking die at 30, but, you know, you should be using breathing protection while working with this stuff, especially when sanding it. So, I say the outer box experience, I'm going to have to give it an 8. It is beautiful, it is incredibly high detail, but there is a couple issues. The wonky gun being the worst. The fact is that there is still cleanup, it's not perfect, but it's still significantly quicker and easier to build compared to a GW or equivalent company's kits. The detail is phenomenal, but it is monopose. You can go out of your way to customize it, weaponry, possibly there is a version of the Jotum with a hammer, but the level of sculpting is just far beyond the regular person who would be in the hobby. So, you know, it's a monopose kit, incredibly well detailed, but monopose. Unlike something like the Contemptor? Redemptor? I forgot what it's blooming called now. Anyway, I think it's a Contemptor Dreadnought, which is fully posable when you build it. This one is unfortunately not. I got 5. But yes,